Greetings, listeners, and welcome to The Spiritual Experience, a show where we share stories of life, love, and redemption for all of humanity on Earth. So sit back and enjoy. Try to identify with the speakers and not compare. Don't forget to subscribe on all podcast platforms. I'm your host, Jay Lewis, and here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back. Spiritual Experience, you know the deal. It's February 13th, day before Valentine's Day and Super Bowl Sunday. And I could care less about the Super Bowl. Yeah, it was funny. I was just having some lunch after the Greenwood men's meeting with a couple of my friends. And I legit told them that if there was $5,000 on the table, I could not tell you who was playing in the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's how divorced from my life that kind of stuff is. And it's weird because I used to play football when I was in junior high school. I played with my friends and I just never really got into it. You know, on the outside I can watch it maybe if it's on, but I don't know. I don't really like it that much. And the times that I do watch it now, it's it's like flag football. You can't hit anybody. You can't do anything. Like, what are we turning into? But I get it. I get it. If I had a young kid, I don't know if I'd want him playing football. They have all of this, all this stuff with CTE and everything, and I believe that to be all the way true. You get what I call traumatic brain injury. Was that TBI? I think I'm just making stuff up, but that's okay. Yeah, so that happens from just getting hit all the time. And then I was talking with my buddy Kurt yesterday because I went upstate and I interviewed him for the show, and that interview will be dropping, I guess, I don't know, maybe this week or next week. And, one thing when I played football, what I loved hitting. That's why I loved it. I loved hitting. And I was not a great football player at all. At all. I mean, I can catch the ball. I can run pretty quick when I was a kid, but I never played like any of those positions. They would just basically kind of have me on the sideline. And then when somebody needed blocking, they would tell me to go. I played like guard or tackle, which is crazy how little I was. But I would play because even if I couldn't stop anybody, I could definitely slow him down. When there was this other kid who was on the line and he was huge, and you would think that this guy would be able to stop people, but inside him, he didn't have it. So he didn't really like to hit. He would just kind of like Eeyore around and that kind of stuff. So it's funny. So the coach would grab me. He said, "Jay, get in there and hit this guy." Like, in football, they said, "What's your assignment?" Right? So I would just, yeah. So, yeah, I don't care about football. Even though I bought a box at the barbershop, and it's the worst box ever. I got 2 and 2, which is like near impossible for any of that to happen. So I probably won't even watch it at all. And the only thing I can do is just maybe hang out with my family. I was thinking about going to the gym. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. What does Valentine's Day mean? Like, what is that? Like, I don't know. What is that? When I was a kid, I was just always kind of like in love with being like in love. I always wanted to have like a girlfriend. And I did. Look at that. I did. But now, as an adult, does Valentine's Day even really matter anymore? Yeah, what am I going to do? I'm going to get some cards, some candy, maybe express my love to my love. I try and do that all the time when I can. I kind of bludgeon them with the I love yous and all of that stuff. So I don't know how different it's going to be on Valentine's Day. Do guys get anything on Valentine's Day? Is that even possible? Does that even happen? I don't know. Similar to the last, I was re-listening to one of my, excuse me, I just burped. One of my last episodes, and then when I was quoting Jordan Peterson about, it's kind of like not the holidays on the beach or whatever that counts. What counts is how you spend your daily time with your family, with the people that you love. Those 10, 20 minutes at breakfast or at dinner or whatever. If the love is there at that time, then all the other stuff doesn't really matter. Who wants to sit fat on the beach? I don't need that to know that I have a good life with my partner. But it was good. It was good. It was a good weekend. Pretty eventful. I had the episode that I released with my good buddy Anthony. Man, it's a big deal. To have that guy sit down. He's, I love him. I've known him since he's been coming around. And I watched him have a really good life, and then I watched him throw it away. And I saw him start to piece it back together. And it was very painful watching. I'm also friendly with his cousin, and I would speak to him all the time. And I would be deathly scared of, like, one day we're going to get the phone call like, hey, they found Cuzzo. That's what his cousin calls him when he doesn't want to say his name. He's like, oh, you heard from Cuzzo? That's what he says. They're cousins. I'm not related to them, but yeah, I'd be scared that he would call me and say, hey, look, they found Cuzzo. Because it's very, it's an insidious disease. Once you relapse, once you go back into that, the snake pit, bro, he was suffering. And he couldn't get back out. It was so hard. It was so hard. Drinking this C4 limeade. I'm going to probably meet my girl and my kid at the gym. But yeah, going back to Anthony, it was so hard, man. It was so sad. But I'm happy he's dusting himself off. He's getting back on his feet. And he's doing the thing. It was a big deal. We were talking about that. The Suboxone, methadone. That's like the old school guys. Like, yo, I was on the program. We all know what that means, a method program. When I was a roofer, there was a guy who used to go and get his meth every day. We used to call him Method Man. He'd go and he'd drink it, and that would be that. But I know about the Suboxone and maybe a little bit I don't know how controversial that kind of stuff is. I don't have to take any of that stuff to stay sober. So I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't really doubt that some of it is really needed. And it takes time to come off of that shit. But, I was with Anthony when this was going on. And, bro, he was losing his freaking mind. The torture of coming off the Suboxone was, like, incredible. It was incredible. Like, and then he came off it, and he's, he relapsed and he couldn't get back on. But now he's back on the horse and, take medical advice or whatever. There's a lot of all of those maintenance programs, people that are doing pot and not drinking. I know somebody who came to AA because they had a huge cocaine problem. And then they came and then they got sober and then they went back drinking and never touched cocaine again. And I know the same thing happened with somebody who's big on pills. They did that stuff and then they got sober just to get off pills, but now they drink a little bit here and there. They smoke pot here and there, and it doesn't bother them. I don't know what those kind of opiates or whatever they're called, I don't know what's in them or what it's about. I got sober before all of that stuff hit. you know. Thank God. Thank God I got sober when I did. Thank God, you know, I never went to rehab or anything like that. So that was like, yeah, it was nice going through that stuff with him, and it was very impactful. And, you know, we really sifted through a lot of the stuff, especially family issues. You know, he's coming to terms that, you know, there's mental illness in his family. And, you know, it's not an excuse why some stuff happens, but it's a reason. It really is. It's a reason. So that was, I was very happy about that. So I love him so much. And he's one of my best friends. Every episode, you are going to find out that I have everybody's my best friend. You know, and that's okay. And then I had my homegirl, Sarah, that I know from I go on a Zoom meeting every probably 4 days a week if I can. I would love to go 7. I used to go 7 days a week. It was, it came during the pandemic. Like when AA meeting first started going on Zoom, like AA was just like so seamless. Everything started getting locked down. People, they started Zoom groups, and then boom, right away, within a month, there were thousands of meetings all over Earth that you could join, and then people would Zoom bomb them, or, you know, and it was funny. Like the Zoom bombing initially was funny. It's a little bit jarring because that's like you're in a meeting and we're talking about sad stuff, we're talking about good stuff, talking about bad stuff, just trying to make it through the day, and then somebody just starts throwing up like porn or whatever, or just starts yelling and doing all this other shit, you know. And it, you know, I have so many fond memories of the pandemic. I really got closer to the program during the pandemic because I started going to this group. It's a big book study group. It meets every day at 12 o'clock my time, and it's 9 o'clock San Francisco time. It's the San Francisco-based group. It's called A Way Out. And we go through the first 164 pages of the big book and Dr. Bob's Nightmare. And it's powerful. And I've fallen in love with everybody in that group. There are people definitely that I do not like. But you go through the book. And it really deepened my spiritual connection to the program. You know, all the answers, are a lot of them, many of them, are in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a spiritual journey that we're on. Either way, so there was this girl that I knew from the meeting, you know, and she's awesome. And there's no inappropriateness on either of our behalves or any of that kind of stuff, which is nice, you know. It's nice. I mean, listen, that kind of stuff is never out of the realm of possibility, just from two humans. For me, I spend most of my time in literature meetings and men's meetings, and so I'm not really around a lot of the women in AA or NA, and I've evolved, you know, I don't look at them the same way I look at other women, you know. So I never had like any of that kind of like stuff. So anyway, she came into town Thursday. She came into town Thursday to see her brother up in the Bronx. I remember when her brother first moved here, she gave me his number, or gave him my number, because she's like, look, my brother's in the Bronx. We don't know anybody in New York, blah, blah, blah. I was like, listen, I'll call him right now. I spoke to him for a couple of minutes. He's very funny, very, like, he's a young kid, you know. I guess he's in his mid-20s or something, and he's up here with his wife, and she's studying medicine. He's working for the city doing something. They're living in some area of the Bronx, which is, you know, not such a bad area, but whatever. He was just like talking to me about New York like he knew. He was like, oh, this place is getting gentrified and the blah, 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 and all this other shit. I was like, bro, you are in the freaking Bronx. In that whole borough, there's maybe 3 neighborhoods, maybe 4 neighborhoods that are not what we call candela, which means exactly what you may think it means, hot. like, you know, like a candle, like on fire, like the trap, like the Bronx is really, you know, the Bronx is the Bronx, bro. It's exactly what you may think it is. Either way, so I just had a good conversation with him for like an hour or so, letting him know that I'm available for him if he ever needs anything. He's never going to be stranded. Nothing will ever bad will happen to him, and he has a place to go. On the strength of his sister, my homegirl Sarah, man, and she's awesome. Either way, so she came. She's like, "Oh, I'm coming to New York to hang out with my brother," and yeah, I was like, "Great." I said, "We can meet up. We can do a meeting together, whatever." And I went home. And I told my fiance, I was like, listen, my homegirl's coming from Florida. This is the connection, is how we know each other, whatever. Like, there was no secret. And I said, she's going to meet me at this meeting. Then we're going to go chill or whatever. And I invite my girl and my kid, like, yo, do you want to come hang out? And they they let me do my own thing without any reservation. They're like, no, it's okay. I don't want to come. And you know, my girl, she's not antisocial, but she don't really feel the need to really be making friends with anybody, if that makes any sense. She's got everything she needs according to her. I think she needs more friends. And she's such a lovely, warm, incredible person. I don't think I've met anybody that's met her that doesn't like her, you know, but she's an introvert, super introvert. So she's very to herself. So whatever, she didn't want to come hang out. So I hung out with my friend after the meeting Thursday. We went to go get sushi at 10, which is the best sushi spot in New York City. I don't care about any of this other fancy shit that's in Manhattan. 10 in Park Slope is the best sushi. You know, anyway, so we had sushi, and it was just so nice to, like, connect, like, you know, physically, to give, like, a nice AA hug to somebody that, you know, you've gone through the last 2 years within Zoom meetings and whatever. And it was such a great experience. And then whatever, I dropped her off. Did I drop off? I think I dropped her off Thursday too. Yeah, I dropped off Thursday, boom, drove home, told Emily how great it was. And then the next, and it was great. Then the next day we linked up again. She had all these Moroccan pastries or whatever for me to bring to my family. We came to my shop. We went on the Zoom meeting together. Everyone was like, oh, my God, you guys are hanging out. And it was so much fun. And those people are my family, a way out group. And then we sat down and we recorded an episode, and it was freaking incredible. You know, it was incredible, man. This girl came here from Morocco when she was like 18 or 19 or something, or 17. And she lived in Florida, and she had such a windy road, and it was such a great story. Such a great story. And then that was it. And it was awesome. I had a great time. And, you know, she invited me and my family to her house in Florida. She's like, listen, you guys got to come down and visit. You know, bring your woman, bring the kids, whatever. And that was like Friday. So then Saturday, yesterday? It was Saturday. Yeah, I was like, dude, I was working. And I had the USB in my pocket that had that episode on it, and it fucking broke. So that episode is gone. And my heart broke because it was such a powerful story. You know, it was such a powerful story. It made me sad that happened and that story is gone. I mean, it felt great just me hearing the story because, you know, when you hear somebody's story, you know, for an hour versus, you know, 3 or 4 minutes at a time in an AA meeting, it was a nice connection. You know, it was a really nice connection. And she is trying to get her life together with, she got these 2 cats and, you know, and her mom is staying with her and just the evolution. So it was sad. It really made me sad that didn't happen. So so then that was it. I know yesterday I went upstate and I did another interview with my boy Kurt. That's going to, like I said, is going to drop soon. And he is not in the program, but he is a powerful spiritual human being. And he also has an incredible story. And that's what I was really interested in, is just people's stories, man. like I'm building these connections with those people who I sit down with, and they're different people from different parts of my life that we can all share together, because it's important for us to realize that, dude, man, there's magic everywhere, and we are not alone. And we have each other, and everybody's story matters, and everybody's story is important. And he doesn't think his shit is that important, but it really is. He's a public school teacher, he's a football coach, and he's a dad, he's a son, he's a brother. He has like, these difficulties and trepidations with his own family, which I understand. I have the same thing too. I said, bro, I'm on a group chat with my cousins. Let me tell you something. I'm 43. I think the next one on top of me is way in their 50s, maybe mid 50s. No, there's me. Jasenia is like a year older than me. I think I have the rest of them, whatever. Bro, it's people, they're so sensitive, man. You can't even make jokes about anything. It's ridiculous. So, yeah. So either way, so I identified a lot with that. And that is, that's understandable. The last few years, like there's just so much, what's the word? Divisiveness? Division? Yeah, division. So much division in this country, in this earth. And I'm like, I don't understand all of that stuff, I don't understand all of that stuff. Like, it takes so much energy to have that level of resentment against people, whether it's vaxxers versus anti-vaxxers, like, January 6th versus Trump, and like fucking, non-binary versus binary, or like whatever. Like, I don't, I know I used to be like that. I did. I used to be like that. I used to just look for ways to separate myself from everybody. Oh, no, you don't understand. I had a madman for a dad, and I had a very loving mom who did the best that she could, and who spoke in riddles and who doesn't know how to connect with people verbally, but she does things in her own way, and I had to learn how to deal with that, and like all this other shit that goes on in family and here, and how much time we're really wasting, But on my way up to upstate to go see my friend to do the interview in his house, I was listening to this past weekend, which is one of my favorite podcasts, Theo Vaughn. He's an incredibly talented comedian. Either way, so he's also like kind of in recovery. I guess he's in recovery. I'm not going to say he's not. He's had a bunch of relapses and a bunch of shit go on. And, he was talking about, he just started doing his show again. And I went and I saw him, I think, I don't know, when did we see him? Maybe December, November? Hold on. Yeah. We went down to North Carolina, had a good old time, rented a Tesla, stayed in an Airbnb, big ball of shit. My girl got me those tickets. She knows I love Theo. She loves Theo. There's an honesty about him that's very hard to deny. Either way, so what he was talking about, which kind of ties into, I guess, the shit that Anthony was talking about was, bro, this guy was, he wanted to get off his antidepressants, He said he's been struggling a long time. He's been struggling trying to get sober, and he's been struggling with life and his fame and his success and all of these things. And he had, he's been taking antidepressants apparently for like 20 years. And I don't take any of that stuff. Excuse me. Again, wow, man, that stuff is very carbonated. So he's talking about getting off of them, and he went through like all the proper channels, man, step by step. He said he started going to a lot of meetings, worked with his I guess his therapist and his psychiatrist, and they were just like weaning him off a little bit, this and that, whatever. And the truth is that, he's describing what I already have an opinion about, that kind of stuff it creates like this veil between you and reality. Like it's not unadulterated when you're on that, so all of your feelings kind of just get suppressed. So eventually you're going to have to just deal with that stuff. I know one of my good friends that I think he was on antidepressants, and then we were in like our 5th year of sobriety or whatever. I don't know how much time we had, but he wanted to get off of them. And he did. He got off of them and he couldn't take it and he went back on, And luckily for me, maybe luckily or not luckily, I don't know. But I've just learned how to muddle and muck my way through all of that stuff where I have yet to find it necessary to go on any kind of medication. So Theo's getting off the medication and he's facing all the things that the medication basically have been holding at bay. Now, there are people who tell me that when they are medicated, that if they have severe mental illness, it'll stop them from like hurting or killing themselves. Okay. I believe it when people tell me things, And I try not to give my opinion. I have these conversations with people, and sometimes I just find it to be very confrontational because they're like, oh, well, you don't know what it's like. That's why I have to be medicated. So, don't talk about what you don't know. And I just say, okay, because I'm like, dude, maybe, especially if you're an alcoholic and a drug addict, it's quite possible that you just damaged your neurological system with all of those things and your receptors and all of that shit that you really did. And then, you go into a psychologist's office and you just start describing symptoms to them. And then they, based on what you tell them, they just say, okay, well, I guess you have, ADHD or ADD, or you have severe depression, or what's the other one? Oh my God, borderline personality disorder, BPD. I'm going to look that up right now. I don't want to have like a Rogan moment. Shout out to him though. He's winning the war, you animals. Yeah, BPD, what is it? Borderline personality disorder. That's like the new thing, right? A mental disorder characterized by unstable moods, behavior, and relationships. That sounds like a regular person who has unstable moods, behavior, and relationships. Let's see. The cause of borderline personality disorder isn't well understood. Diagnosis is made on the basis of symptoms. It's very common. There are more than 3 million cases per year. Treatable by medical professional. It can last for years or be lifelong. Requires medical diagnosis. Lab tests or imaging not required. So what the fuck does that mean? Okay, what are the... requires a medical diagnosis. Symptoms include emotional, like I said, instability, feelings of worthlessness, insecurity, impulsivity, and impaired social relationships. Dude, like that's such a broad spectrum that anybody could fucking be diagnosed that. Like some teenage kid can just be like, go into like their moody shell and then go into a psychologist's office, and that sounds like, to me, that sounds like adolescence. That's what the fuck that sounds like. It doesn't sound like an actual thing that needs to be medicated. Now, there may be some behavioral things that you can adjust to try and make yourself a little bit more palatable to yourself. But medication is like, not just they just give that out so much, and then they turn you into a fucking customer. And that's it. Now you're on this medication forever. And now you believe, and rightfully so, that you cannot go on without the medication. Because when you try to get off it, similar to Anthony trying to get off the Suboxone, bro, you go through withdrawal. And then it's very uncomfortable. And all of these things that you kept at bay for so long because the medication just pacified your progress of working through those feelings and those things, those life instances. And then giving you tools where you don't hurt yourself, maybe going to group therapy, maybe joining some kind of thing where you're not alone and building a support network. This is what makes me grateful to be an alcoholic, bro. I have a family all over this earth. I can go to wherever. I can go to Chile. I can go to the Ukraine. I can go anywhere, walk into an AA meeting, and I'm welcome. And I have family, and I have people who will help me for no other reason than we believe we are all together. And that's what I think, So, let's see what else. Let's continue on. People may experience behavioral, these are the behavioral signs. Antisocial behavior. Okay. All right. Let's just think about this as, well, together. We're going to work through this thing together. And maybe I'll get a lot of backlash on this shit. And then maybe some people will, I honestly don't care, to be honest with you. It's my opinion. It's my show. It's our life. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just giving my opinion. So it says what people may experience. These are the behavioral things. So again, it looks like adolescence to me. And it looks like, somebody who just has like a little bit of a tough time adjusting. Again, I never knew anybody my whole life that was like, oh my God, I felt like I fit in since I was 11 years old. Like nobody fucking feels like that. Nobody, but I don't think that's a reason to go and just start, medicating and hitting all these receptors that don't allow you to make those, life skill adjustments. Listen, I medicated myself with drugs and alcohol for a long time because it feels good. It feels good not to feel. I am very feel. Shout out to Usyk. But yeah, it feels good not to feel. I would go for oblivion, but it also feels good to be high, man. It's like, it's a chemical thing. Who doesn't want to feel that, And now, I love the moment. I love being where I'm at, Because eventually you got to pay what you owe, which means you got to face all of that shit. So, all right, before I go into any more tangents, maybe I have ADD. I'm trying to read. I can't get through one thing without going on a tangent. So I'm diagnosing myself. BPD. How about that? That's going to be 2024. BPD. I better, what do you call it? Get a patent or something. Get a little royalty check. Behavioral, antisocial behavior, compulsive behavior, hostility, impulsivity. How could they have compulsive behavior and impulsivity in the same fucking paragraph? What is that? Irritability, which can go with hostility, I guess. Risk-taking behaviors. Is that not impulsivity? Self-destructive behavior, self-harm, social isolation, or lack of restraint. That's wild. It's basically like a word salad for somebody who's not comfortable in their own skin. Then they give you these labels. Mood. All right? These are people may experience this mood. Anger, anxiety, general discontent, guilt, loneliness, mood swings, or sadness. That sounds like being a human being. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like being a human being. Psychological, depression, distorted self-image, grandiosity, or narcissism. Okay. Those make sense too. Narcissism, grandiosity, just being separate from everybody else. Depression. Who doesn't get depressed? Who doesn't get depressed, bro? Yeah, everybody gets depressed. Distorted self-image. It's very hard for people to see themselves in their actual light. And that's why we need each other. When I was interviewing Kurt, I had to stop him so many times to let him know how great he was just by him telling his story. And he's trying to be super humble. And I get it. He's trying to be super humble. and it appeared to be genuine. But I'm like, dude, come on. I'm over here telling you you're this prodigy. And it's the truth. When his story comes out, I'm going to drop it this week. You guys will understand. The guy's done some amazing stuff. And I'm proud to know him. Okay, also comment thoughts of suicide. All right, see, there's a red flag. Okay. I don't think I ever really thought of killing myself. Now, I have had thoughts of wanting to die, but I've never really had thoughts of killing myself, I don't think. Like, I'm going to make a plan, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to eat all these pills, or I'm going to, not to kill myself, but maybe to just make the pain go away. So I don't want to die, but I just don't want to feel what I'm feeling. And that's not the same thing, because death is not the only answer for that. It's just not. The other answer is, okay, how do we work out of this situation? So many of those things, it just sounds like regular shit to me. What do we have here for treatments? Treatments include talk therapy, or in some cases, medication. Hospitalization helps if symptoms are severe. Okay. Therapies. What are cognitive behavioral therapy, anger management, psychotherapy. This other stuff that I don't know exactly what it means. What type of therapy is best for? Oh, DBT. What the hell does that even say? Dialectical behavioral therapy began as a way to help manage crisis behavior such as suicidal behavior or self-harm. It is the most commonly recognized therapy for BPD. It works with concept of mindfulness or being present in the moment. This helps you be aware of your emotions, moods, and behaviors. That sounds like some pretty good stuff. As long as you don't have to, put yourself in this shell, maybe by whatever medicine that, they suggest that you take. Yeah. So that's like the new thing, That's like the new thing. And every generation, they're going to have like another thing and a new thing. And I don't know what it was for us. I grew up in the 90s, 80s and 90s. It was the best time to be on earth. The best time to be in New York City or around New York City. I grew up less than 50 miles from Manhattan, I think. I don't know how many miles it is. I know that I could take the bus by my house, less than if you had to walk, you'd have to walk maybe half a mile. No, maybe it was a mile. I don't know. Route 45. You could take the bus from there, and I would be at the Port Authority in less than an hour. So probably the same amount of time it takes to get from Coney Island to the Port Authority is the same amount of time it would take to get from my house in the woods to Port Authority. That's how close I was. So yeah, during that time, there was this is like all cyclical, so there was very sappy music, the grunge scene. I got into that, even though I've been a hip hop head my whole life. I've been a hardcore kid most of my life, almost all my life. Metalhead. I listen to everything. I love all kinds of music. I actually started listening to a little bit of country music the other day, and just to kind of challenge myself to see what the deal was. And that's that. But like in my day, parents were watching kids, listen to Nirvana and Alice in Chains and these and the likes, right? And it was basically kind of like a repeat of like Jimi Hendrix and the Doors, where like these guys were young, they lived allegedly wild, who knows how wild they lived or whatever, And they all ended up dying. They all ended up dying. Jimmy and Jim Morrison, they're dead or whatever. And Kurt Cobain is dead, the singer from Alice in Chains. What's his name? Lane something. I forgot it. Escapes me. Yeah, he ended up dying. The weirdo from Blind Melon. But that one song is good. I forgot the name of it. Oh, the song with the bees. When they were like in the bee video. That was like the best. That was such a nice song, man. So there was that. And it was just a repeat of that. So my parents are from that time, and they were just like, they were on this, unbothered. Meanwhile, at the time, I'm going through it, and I think this is the first time and the only time ever that I would ever, go through this kind of stuff. And that it's ever happened because, as a kid, you think it's happening to you and it's never happened before, like you are the original, and yeah, that was happening. So, but, I knew kids in my high school. I only went to high school for like a year and a half in a regular environment. Then I had to go to this offsite school. Shout out to BOCES, everybody at the Rockland Academy, my Botard brothers and sisters. Alternative high schools, whatever. Yeah, so kids were like, I don't know, we're just so uncomfortable. And we're just trying to fit in. And every 3 months you looked different. You had a different hairstyle. You did the grunge thing, and then like girls would be like, oh, I want to be fucking goth. There's any kind of rebellion. Because you're just so uncomfortable that you don't want to go along with the program. Meanwhile, there are kids who are not that uncomfortable because puberty and adolescence and all that, it's like a nuclear bomb going off inside of you. And some of them maybe have other stuff, but they're on the straight and narrow. They're going to school every day. They're doing things that matter. They're going to, where are they going? They're going to like band camp and college and, doing all the right things, being in all those clubs in high school. Yeah, it was so weird. There were these clubs in high school, like the Key Club, I think it was called. And I never thought that I could fit in with those people. And that was just me. And I was also very abrasive because I was highly sensitive. I was highly uncomfortable. And what was I? Let's go back. Antisocial behavior, compulsive behavior, hostility, irritability, risk-taking behavior, self-destructive behavior, self-harm. The self-harm I never really did. I never cut myself or anything. I stuck my finger up my butt one time. But I was like way 2 a.m. on a cocaine psychosis binge. That's as far as self-harm that I've ever done. And I only did it that once. And that's why it's funny when growing up, I'd meet women. They're like, "Oh, do you want me to stick a finger in your butt?" I'd be like, "Nah, man, I don't like that shit." They're like, "No, for real." I'm like, "Yeah, listen, for real. I'm letting you know I don't like it." So no good, no booty hole stuff for me. And that's okay if that's your thing. Good for you. But lack of self-restraint or lack of restraint. Social isolation. It's like social isolation meaning what? For me. I mean, I had friends, but I wasn't that popular because of all those other symptoms that I had. And all the other kids that I hung out with, they all had the same symptoms. So we all just kind of hung out together. We all just kind of hung out together, and we gravitated towards, just want to be free of that teenage angst, and you want to be free of that stuff, and you don't want to feel any of that. So what do? You smoke weed. You go to concerts, you go to shows, you go to this and that. It was funny. Like I went to so many shows when I was a kid, and I loved them. And so it was like the antisocial social club. Is that like a shirt that I saw the other day, or like in the last year? Sometimes I can't tell the difference, the last year or the other day. It's like a thing. We say, yeah, the other day, which could mean like literally the other day, or it could have been 3 months ago. But either way, I felt like I didn't belong. I don't think people really told me that I didn't belong. Yeah. I don't think anybody told me that, you know. But yeah, I was very, and I think it was biological, you know. That's what I think, if you're asking me. I think that it was, you know, nature versus nurture. Maybe it was like 70% nature, like just kind of my evolutionary process. Everybody grows up and matures at a different rate. And nurture, you know, having an intense dad who just wanted me to do great, and he wanted me to win, and he didn't want me to be a loser, and he didn't want people to pick on me, and he wanted me to be, I guess, everything that he wasn't, you know. And he tried his best, and he thought that maybe if I do this, then he thought life was like a mathematical equation, you know, and he would get so frustrated. He's like, bro, I come home, I coach your little league teams, I do this, I do that, you know, but he's just so overbearing. He's overbearing now. If you're in the room with him, you'll get it right away. You know, there's very few people that don't find him to be that way. And that's him. Maybe that's nature and a little bit of nurture too. So, but I don't think there wasn't like kids in my high school that were, nobody killed each other. I mean, nobody killed themselves. I don't think. No, nobody killed themselves. I didn't know if anybody was cutting each other. I mean, or cutting themselves. What am I saying, cutting each other? I know people who were cutting each other, but I didn't know anybody who was cutting themselves. You know, I didn't know that many girls, so maybe it's like a girl thing. I don't know. Do guys even cut themselves? Does that even happen? I don't know. Leave a comment or something, or DM me on Instagram if you were a guy who cut yourself in high school, like self-harm. You know? Yeah. So I didn't know any of that stuff. But that was the thing. You know, that was the time, that was the thing. You know, everybody wanted to fall into the category of like that we don't fit in or whatever. And yeah, now it's a whole different thing. Now, one generation later, maybe two. How old am I? I'm 4. I'm going to be 43 next month. Motherfucker! 43. See, the middle kid is how old? 22. So 21. So what did they say? Generation is 25 years, right? So in less than one generation, all these things started coming into play. ADD or whatever, like severe ADD, ADHD. Let's see what that is. ADHD symptoms. I don't really want to go too far down this rabbit hole. Okay, behavioral aggression, excitability, fidgeting, hyperactivity, impulsivity, irritability, lack of restraint, a persistent repetition of words and actions, absent-mindedness, difficulty focusing, forgetfulness, problem paying attention or short attention span, mood, anger, anxiety, boredom, excitement, or mood swings. Also common depression or learning disability. I'd say 60% of that also sounds like adolescence to me. Things that, you know, if you have the right support system or if you're lucky enough and you're patient enough, you can grow out of a lot of that stuff. But then what happens? They start, what was it? I don't even know the names. They start with like the Ritalin and then, you know, that's it. The whole generation on Ritalin, Xanax, and whatever else. So now they have taken these, what I believe to be natural life experiences, and it's so tough. I don't want to be a teenager again. Only if I could do it the same way. Like if I could just get fucked up every day and then go see the Chili Peppers and Nine Inch Nails and, you know, Crown of Thorns and whatever, all the rap shows I used to see that I loved, you know, yeah. Yeah, if I could just, I can live that life again, that would be great. But I see like all of that teenage angst in these kids. I see it in my own kids. I'm like, dude, that's like regular shit, you know? Some of it is like regular shit. Some of it not. But I just don't think the answer right away is to just, well, we're going to give you this pill and it's going to balance you out, or it's going to make you feel better. It's going to do it's like the first thing. It should be at minimum, it should be maybe the last thing, where there's so many other things that you can do. I'm trying to get my boy on here. His name is Joe. I got to call him when I stop talking to get him on here. He wrote this incredible book. It's called 50 Things to Do Before Seeing a Psychiatrist and How to Actually Do Them. And I think it's an important thing, because once you get used to pacifying your own progress, then, how do you blow open the dam? It'll be too much for anybody. You've held all of that stuff back for so long that, they got you hooked. And, now it's not, like I said, the rebellion thing now is not, now it's not being goth and painting your nails black or whatever. Now it's okay. I'm going to be gender whatever. That's like the thing now. That's the thing. And I'm not saying that there weren't any trans people when I was younger, or there weren't any gay kids when I was younger, because there was. But it wasn't like it is now, where maybe people are using that, or I'm guessing. I don't know. I am not trans anything, including not transphobic, because I don't care, but I just want people to be happy. But I think from what I'm observing is that has been presented as a reason why all of those other symptoms are there. Like, if I don't want to read the symptoms again, but you get it. They're like, oh, dude, oh my God, you don't feel comfortable in your own body? Like, what freaking kid feels comfortable in their own body? Especially girls. Oh my God. Dude, especially girls. They got more stuff going on and more hormones going on than boys. Plus girls are they're not nice to each other. They're just not. They're just not. And then you wonder why, as they get older, you're like, you meet some woman, it's like, yeah, I don't have that many girlfriends. I got my sister, two of my cousins, whatever, and that's really it. They don't have a gaggle of chicks that they can really lean on. And even if they have a gaggle of them, I've dated women that had mad friends that are girls, and they would do shit to each other that was petty, straight petty. And they would warn me, listen, this one is I wouldn't be surprised if she tried to hit on you. I'm like, what? This would be a fucking homegirl. It's so stupid how they are. But I don't want to get into that, because Valentine's Day is tomorrow. But, that's the whole thing now. Now it's trans, and anything to do to make kids feel comfortable, instantly. There's no instant answer. The real answer is, it's just going to take time for you to become comfortable. And you are no different than any other human walking this earth. Even the cisgendered people are uncomfortable. That is why we have this show. That is why we have this life, that we can love each other and say, okay, you're uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable too, let's be uncomfortable together. And then I spit a little bit of shit to you about, these are my insecurities, this is what I think, this is what I feel, and then you say, okay, my brother, I get it, because I feel A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and it's the same thing. In AA, they call that terminal uniqueness, that you think you are the only one, and it's gotten so crazy that now, like I said, 14-year-old kid, or 15, but we also didn't have social media, which I really think exasperates all of that stuff. And maybe that's where some of the self-harm shit comes from now, where all these, I know so many, I don't know anybody that has kids that are my kids' age that are not going through like, oh, let me guess. We can both like say at the same time to each other, like, okay, let me guess. They're at, they don't want to be a this, they want to be that. Like, yeah, everybody's kids at the same time going through it, but they want to be heard and they want it to, they want it to be real. And maybe there's a good percentage of it that it might be real, but the percentages are so low that it's really real. The percentages are so low, but now with social media, then you get some kid on there that's like, yeah, man, my parents, they just don't get me and I don't understand. This is, I'm a human being too, and I deserve to be here and I deserve to be how I want to be and I deserve to be free and I really want, but it's just so frustrating with them. All they want me to do is go to school and follow the rules and whatever, and then I'm like, yeah, they want you to fucking succeed. They want you to be able to take care of yourself. They want you to win. And this is the formula for winning. But the problem is that it requires legitimacy. It requires hard work. It requires partnerships with other people. You cannot do it on your own. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So we say these things and it's a natural instinct to not want to do that. And so, yeah, the person's making a stupid TikTok or an Instagram video. Like, does anybody understand? Are you guys with me? Yeah, man, they just don't get us. And this is a whole new thing. And my grandpa's like this and my mom is like this and whatever. And they're so uncomfortable. Then what do, right? Pull out something sharp and then they cut themselves to get that little bit of relief. And maybe that works for that moment. Because two things happen. You get like a physical adrenaline rush, right? When you cut your, like I used to get when I was talking, boom, the best part of football was hitting. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't even care if somebody knocked me out. I've been knocked out cold, almost cold. Yeah, I've been knocked out very chill and cold a few times in my life. One time on a football field, I think. Once. I know a few times fighting, whatever. Dude, one guy, murdered me. One shot. I was so drunk I fell forward and they had to throw me in a car. But, yeah, what I'm saying is that, you get that relief that I used to get on the football field from hitting. It's a physical thing. So then one of these kids, they cut themselves and then the adrenaline starts going and all this other shit. Right? And then they get that relief. And then what happens? Right? They do it again. They get more relief. They do it again. They get more relief. And then now they have these little scars on themselves. And now they have a secret. They can finally, something that they can control. Something that they like. Oh, you don't understand. I kind of do this and I do that and whatever. And then what's the next step? They get found out. Because now they're wearing long sleeve shirts. Right? They're wearing all the long sleeve hoodies, all the shit. They don't want nobody to know. Allegedly, they don't want anybody to know, even though they're putting on the whole show, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to be a boy anymore. I want to be whatever. Let's just use girls as the example. No offense to guys who want to transition to women. That's okay too, right? So, they're going through that thing. That's their outlet. Then they cut themselves, right? Then they're wearing long sleeve shirts and hoodies and shit in the fucking summer like nobody's going to ask them. Because they're not even smart enough, frontal lobe, whatever, to understand that that is a red fucking flag when somebody's wearing long sleeve shit all the time and they don't show you how they are. Right? So somebody's going to ask you a question. Like, why are you wearing these long sleeves? Why don't you fucking do this? Why don't you do that? Just so you can be like, oh, no, right? You say your own fucking story. You put up your own wall. I don't want anybody to know, blah, blah, blah. And then what happens? Then we find out. We find out, okay, you're cutting yourself. And then what happens, right? Now you're getting the attention. Like, oh my God, what's going on with you? You're cutting yourself. You're doing this. Are you not happy? Are you, hold on, just so I can go back. I need to refresher. Oh my God, are you antisocial? The cutting, is it compulsive behavior? The hostility is there. Impulsivity is there. Irritability, risk-taking behaviors, self-destructive behaviors. Here's the self-harm. Self-isolation or lack of restraint. Are you experiencing anxiety? Are you angry? General discontent. General discontent, bro. That's like 90% of the population. Guilt. What do you mean? Like people don't feel guilt? Are you not supposed to feel guilty or not supposed to feel lonely? You have mood swings or sadness? Oh my God. Dude, you know what you need? You need a pill. And you need to go to these places and you need to talk to somebody so they can medicate you that will maybe give you that, who knows what it does. Maybe it gives you that little adrenaline pump or something, the same thing that you're getting with your cut. And then we teach you or try to help you not cut yourself. But who knows? Because you cutting yourself, you're actually getting everything that you want. You know, you're getting the pity and the poor me's and all that other shit. You know, I found out through my analysis of people and me, meaning me dealing with people on an emotionally intimate level. Like I found out what people don't want to hear, which is that most of us are not as sick as we want to be. We want to be without help. You know, we want to be without human aid. There's human aid, obviously there's God, and there's spiritual aid and all that other stuff. But we want to be beyond that. We want to be, no, you don't understand. And that's where a lot of these kids, they find themselves in that trap. And then they're all in that trap together. All of a sudden there's a cluster of kids now, right? A whole group of kids that are non-binary, or if you want to call them trans. That's okay. I allow them to be with, bro, you want to think that you are this or you are that, or even for the moment, you could switch back in 2 years and I won't, guess what? As much as I care about that now, I will care the same at that point. You know, I will care the same at that point. Whatever makes you happy in the moment, dude, go for it. As long as you're not hurting yourself or not hurting anybody else. But I'm also not going to make pretend like I subscribe to, now it's gone a step further with, now you're not just medicating kids into adulthood. Now there's young people who are getting those hormone treatments. And that's fucking crazy to me. That's crazy. But we're running out of time, so I can't go down that rabbit hole. You'll have to stay tuned. I will have to go into that kind of thing maybe another day. I 100% do not support that. When you get older, I don't even know what age it would be. I don't even know what age it would be. When you get older and you want to get the hormone treatments, you do it. But when you are 11, 12, 15, no way. No way. We will do everything we can to support you through this process. And, if you get them when you're 20 or 22, then, and you live to your 80, that means you spend 60 years of happiness doing whatever you want to do. And maybe the first, 10 or whatever, 10 years that you understand or whatever, being uncomfortable. But at least we'll know that it's real, because the last thing we want to do is make that mistake. It's like biological. It's like, I look at it like chemical warfare with medications. That has to be the last resort. Yeah. Thank God they never put me on anything. Jeez. I mean, it's been a long road. To be honest, it's been a long road. And I still have ups and downs, and I battle things, and my boo knows. I'm like, yo, I'm depressed. I let them fucking know. And that means I need extra help to do what I need to do to get out there and get the job done. I get off my ass. I get to it. Even if it's with 3 pancakes in my belly, me being a glutton or whatever. But I have support. You know, and then I deal with it. Not by sweeping it under the rug, but by talking about it with you, whoever's listening. You know, and my people, and sometimes my family. But, you know, that's also for another story. All right, guys, I appreciate the time. Love you all. Subscribe. You know the deal. Spotify. I'm gonna start a YouTube page too, but still be the same thing. You're not gonna see who we are. It's all kind of anonymous. That way, everybody can be as honest as they want to be, and as real as they want to be. And that's it. Peace. We want to thank you all for joining us today. And please don't forget to like and subscribe on all podcast platforms, and find us on Facebook where you can become part of our family. We'll see you around.